Hello and welcome to Cloud Speed by Deloitte. In this regular podcast series, we'll delve into the world of cloud, answering some of those tricky questions, getting to grips with all that cloud has to offer, and keeping you up to speed on recent developments. So let's begin, shall we? Here is your host, Arti Balakrishnan.
Welcome to the next episode of Cloud Speed by Deloitte. This is your host, Arti Balakrishnan, a partner in our cloud engineering practice. Between the participants on the call today, we have over 8 decades of financial services experience, and I'm thrilled to uncover the transformation learnings and look forward to predicting what the future holds. Alan and Rajiv, would you be able to introduce yourselves?
Hi, I'm Rajiv Dama. I'm a partner in financial services working for Deloitte Consulting. Fun fact about me is around I love cricket and I enjoy a day at grounds, watching and spending time with my friends.
The operative word being watching, I hear. Alan?
Hi, my name is Alan Payton. I'm the financial service industry lead for Google Cloud across EMEA. This is a incredibly exciting time to be in a company like Google, and I'm thrilled to be here today to share some of the learnings that I've had over the last period in the company. Fun fact about me is I'm the proud owner of two English bulldogs, and anyone that knows that breed knows that they snore absolutely terribly. And I do seem to spend most of my time apologizing for the snoring in the background. It's never me, it is my dogs on these video calls, but I've put them out of the way for today's podcast.
Thanks for that, Alan. So let me kick us off with what excites you with your experience in Google. And being a fintech alongside a cloud service provider, Google has a lot going on. So how do you see Google influencing the industry?
Well, first of all, it was a dramatic change in my career, having worked for more than 20 years in the professional service industry for a number of large professional services companies. I came to a tech company and I came to what is probably one of the most magnificent companies in the world, Google. And I think until you actually get to see, feel, and be part of this organization, you don't truly understand the sheer power of innovation that exists in a company like Google. The quality of the people, the products, the whole innovation culture, the fail fast, the way we invest, the way we look after our people, it makes it something that's incredibly exciting and rewarding to work in. And Google is playing everywhere and is doing so many exciting things across so many different areas. For me personally, it's been I think probably I should have come 10 years ago, not waited so long to come to a tech company. My experience at Google has been amazing. And I would probably ground it in the fact that the quality of the individuals that I work with and their level of enthusiasm and passion to deliver innovation to our clients, innovation in the industry, and to drive new ideas, which perhaps may or may not work, but we're going to try them. If they're not going to work, we're going to try something else. That culture of mutual respect and fail fast is really amazing to work in.
That's brilliant. And just spanning across financial services industry for a moment, and for all the cloud enthusiasts out there, there are a number of transformation efforts that are cloud-led that's underway in the industry, be it modernization, data transformation, automation, product operating model. Net, it feels like there's very similar transformation efforts across a number of these organizations. So what's truly differentiating them?
Well, each one is very different because, well, first of all, in the area that I look after, I have a number of the largest transformations probably taking place in financial services anywhere in Europe or even globally. So we're working with the largest and some of the most successful financial institutions on the planet who are looking to pivot their business to a cloud-based environment. Now, in many of those situations, these institutions have a decade-long history. And that means that they have a lot of environments which are perhaps coming to the end of their useful life and need to be upgraded, changed, transformed, or perhaps even retired. And this means that you're dealing with environments which are not naturally that easy to move to a cloud environment. Some of those are built on, let's be honest, platforms that may be built 40 years ago in languages like COBOL, and the people that wrote them no longer work, and the documentation perhaps is not as it could be. So there's a lot of challenges when you go after these institutions who are very, very excited about the move to cloud, but often it's tempered with a lot of remediation work, a lot of replatforming work, a lot of really core technology transformation, coupled with really having a strategy. I think it's deeply important that when we engage, it's not really a matter of just technology. It's a matter of how you're going to take a business which has perhaps been set on an agenda of cost saving for a very long time, and now we're looking to do something truly transformational. It is quite a pivot. And on top of that, I think in many of the institutions we work, it has in recent years been a problem around talent, because the tenure of people has been not as long as perhaps some of these contracts have existed. So people come and go quite quickly, and this is the problem. So you also have to keep reinventing the reasons why you chose to go to the crowd, the reasons why it was a good idea to be able to move faster, be more nimble, bring new products to market quicker, all of the things that people chose cloud for, and not to end up in a conversation of each workload that moves, is this the best financial model for each individual workload? We've got to look at these things much from a transformational perspective. So I think these are all the challenges that we're facing today across in different levels, but across all of our accounts that we're currently working.
Rajiv, keen to hear your perspectives as well, because we've been on similar journeys, both of us together, even across a number of clients. Keen to hear your thoughts.
Some of the differentiation that I've observed, especially with the firms that have been leading the cloud transformation and have done relatively well, have been the clients who have been very much focused on staying the course around cloud, also are differentiating by leveraging the cloud services that are offered and leveraging the data around that as well. So, as Alan mentioned, retaining talent has been a challenge in the last few years, and that requires a lot of focus. The whole conversation around hiring the best talent out there and retaining them is very important for the cloud transformation journey.
And if I may add, it's not just about hiring and retention, it's also creating the next generation of technology workforce as well. Because right now we're all playing with a limited pool of resources we've got, and talent required is at least tenfold more than what we've currently got. Moving us along in terms of, with the crystal ball you both have, what do you see as the next evolution of this transformation? So there's a lot of modernization efforts underway, exploiting value from data and getting the talent up to speed on using cloud as cloud. But what are the next 3 to 5 years of evolution that you see happening?
The acceleration is only going to get faster. And I think that those institutions that are able to move at a much more expedited pace will be able to be much more competitive in their market space. That's really across all financial services, whether it would be banking, capital markets, or insurance. Each one of those industries are becoming more and more competitive. The ability to reach customers faster with more competitive pricing, the ability to bring products to market quicker than your competitors to grab that market share. Now, even though we're in a world where interest rates seem to be on the rise, this will generate more profitability for those institutions which have big loan bases. It is also going to create challenges around how do we actually grow your market share. And I think those companies which accelerate their technical transformation and can bring all these benefits to bear over the next coming years will be the super winners. You can already see that in the market. Those companies which are at the forefront of the technological advance are the ones that are winning, and they're winning at quite a pace. So I think you'll continue to see that change, and I think it will drive a different set of challenges. On the people front, I'm deeply concerned that it's the same pool of people that we're all chasing for that talent. So we really need to bring the next generation on and train them and motivate them and get them excited that this is a career path they want to be in. And this is an area of the industry which they want to work. Financial services perhaps isn't as glamorous as maybe media or fashion and some other industries. I mean, I absolutely love it. It's been my passion my whole career. But for others, perhaps we need to make financial services more interesting, and we have to bring that talent, and we have to make sure that it's brought to bear in the right places. And the hunt's on globally to find these people. The challenge is going to be, especially for some of the large, more historic financial institutions, is what is their USP that's going to attract the talent to come and work for them? How are they going to retain that talent? How are they going to give them a career that makes them feel like it's a place where they want to be? And I think there's not just a challenge for the providers, it's a real challenge for the institutions. And I think this problem is going to compound tenfold over the coming years to come.
Thanks for that, Alan. And this is a question to both yourself and Rajiv. How do you see the ecosystem evolving? By that, I mean market institutions as well as banks themselves collaborating with technology organizations to deliver new services and products. How do you see that evolving in the next 3 to 5 years?
From an ecosystem play, we are already seeing that exchanges, which are at the heart of financial services, are looking at transformation. And we saw announcement with Google and CME coming to foray. We are also having conversations with FinTechs who are looking to provide exchange like infrastructure around technologies like blockchain. We are seeing a lot of ecosystem partners coming together to solve industry challenges. And banks are also getting involved now. And we see that as the evolution of not only technologies, but also the industry at large in the next 5 years.
I was interested there, Rajiv, because I actually think there's a real merger going on between tech companies and finance companies. And I think if you ask many finance companies, they're going to tell you they're a tech company. I mean, there had been a lot of speculation, which has been completely unfounded, that many of the big tech companies would become financial companies, and that hasn't transpired. But I definitely think that the tech companies are becoming closer and closer to the institutions in which they serve. And if I look at some of the transactions that we've been involved in, they are truly partnerial, and they go at the very core of products and services that we would perhaps even go to market together for, not just in tech, but in environmental services and other areas, which are really driving the agenda. The last thing I'd say is there's also a bonding between these organizations to share cultural alignment. So many of the financial services companies are looking to Google and others to really bring that cultural heritage that Google has, and that how do we retain such great talent? How do people feel about being part and proud of this organization, and bringing some of that to some of the institutions which for many years, since 2008, have been on a cost-cutting agenda, and also had problems with large-scale attrition, and perhaps even historical contracts where their key IT services have moved to other providers outside of the bank. So trying to retain, grow, and build that talent internally, they're looking to that much more partnerial approach. And I would say that the relationships I have with the banks we serve today is much more partnerial and really not a supplier-customer relationship. It's much more at the heart. And as you say, CME, it's truly transformational. And you can see in the way that partnership was constructed, we're in the trenches together. We're here to make them successful, or we're not successful. And that's something quite different, talked about, but not always executed. And that's a great example of where that's actually been done.
Picking up on your reference to the environment agenda, Alan, I know Google's pretty on point in terms of responding to net zero and the climate action agenda. Do you see your clients responding in a similar way?
In a word, yes. It's absolutely core in all of the institutions that we work to understand how they can bring about change and be part of the environmental challenges this planet faces. And each one of them has a slightly different agenda. So some are very specific. In some of our perhaps UK institutions, it's more perhaps a farming agenda. How can banking technology help farming? And in others, it's more industrial countries. Perhaps it's more about how the manufacturing process and how banking and financial services can bring benefit in those areas. All of them want to be part, and all of them want to set an agenda and course. And it really is. It's one of the most common conversations that we have. We're going to see over the coming next couple of years what impact we can make. But in a word, everybody is laser focused on that as part of their agenda. And in many of these institutions, they've hired key board members with a core portfolio in this space, and all of which we're engaged with and all trying to learn from each other. But fundamentally, I would say it's the most important topic subject that we have when we meet with executives in these institutions.
And the single most important and challenging question for us as a human race as a whole. But going back to your reference around talent and building the next generation of workforce, what do you see as the future nature of work for technologists?
First of all, we're all experiencing this return to office or not return to office scenario. And I think that, many of us have got quite used to a hybrid situation. I mean, in most of my career, I've spent the entire time really in the office 5 days a week, in and out to clients, back to the office, where I think now it's a much more hybrid model. I think the younger generation coming through have a completely different feeling and approach to how work should be conducted and how they want to interact. And I think we need to really embrace that and find ways of making that work for our clients and making it work for the individuals. Moreover, I think sort of the fluidity of the talent, some of my up and coming colleagues don't see careers in perhaps the same way that I did, which was you work for a company for a long time, you move up the promotional ladder, you move up grade and so on and so forth, and hopefully you end up at the top at the end. They're much more about the quality of the work, the interest of the projects. So they're less motivated by that sort of hierarchical promotion. And I think it's something that we really need to embrace. We need to give this top talent the most interesting and innovative projects to work on. And I think if you do that, then you'll retain them. The reasons why perhaps my generation were retained, I think, are quite different. This talent wants to be involved in really the most exciting and driven programs of work, and they want to move around. They want to take their experiences and they want to move around within the organizations to show how they can add value. They don't want to be sat in a role for a very long time. I think this is a very different change that's going on, especially with the younger talent coming through.
Which is, I think, keeping all of us on our toes at the moment. But it is also very real that there is a frozen middle. How you tackling that within the context of your own organization with your clients?
In many of the large banks that we serve, there is a core leadership in the middle, which is challenged. We've had an agenda for building on-premise large data center environments for decades and decades. We've had high levels of security, both physical and virtual. All of these things have been the agenda, and now we're moving to a cloud environment. This is all brand new. I think what you have to do is you have to find a way of taking those people with you and making them feel part of this journey, and that there is great value to them. I mean, there's a lot of reinvention going on with people that perhaps, infrastructure hadn't always been the most exciting place to be in banks. But today, as the move to cloud, it is some of the most exciting and interesting and transformational areas in core infrastructure and data management. And in that space, I think people have the chance to really reinvent themselves and really reinvent their careers. And I think this is a really important thing for us, both companies like Deloitte and Google, to really embrace those people and show them what a great opportunity it is to work in new areas and new exciting fields, and to be part of that change, where for years their number one job is to keep the lights on and make sure nothing goes wrong. Today, it's all about transformation and flexibility.
The reality is also the knowledge of on-prem and data centers is essential to extracting maximum value from the cloud. We all pretend like what's on the cloud is not on a data center. It still is. It's just that the responsibility of running and managing it has shifted from the individual organizations to the cloud provider. So completely understand where you're coming from.
I like to think of it as the last transformation from an infrastructure and data any customer has to make. So once you've moved to the cloud, once that your platforms are installed and ready, up and running, you don't have to worry about that next upgrade, that next security audit, it's all contained within world-class environments, which are able to cope and be compliant with the industry's needs. And moreover, from an investment perspective, the sheer scale of the investment going on from the cloud providers is in the tens of billions. No company on their own can ever make those kind of investments for their own provision. So it really gives you access to a world-class, unbeatable environment where really once you've made the move, no more upgrades are required. That's taken part of the service. This is something to get used to, but I think once institutions really feel this benefit, I think it will be transformational both for the people involved and for the institutions themselves.
Now, having explored where the industry is headed, what Google's focusing on, quite keen to understand what a professional like yourself is focusing on for the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, for me, it's delivering on the expectations that we sold to many of these clients. So all of the amazing goodness that we bring, whether it be artificial intelligence, whether it be machine learning, or whether it be world-class infrastructure, regardless of what or how we positioned and how this opportunity came together, it's delivering on those expectations, bringing to life for these institutions. Many of these people have become great friends over the years. And on a personal note, for me, it's to deliver what we promised. So often, especially in technology, a lot is promised, but perhaps not always fulfilled. And for me, those companies that were the movers, those companies that made the investments with us, those companies that listened, learned, and took on Google as their provider, we need to deliver. So my laser focus is delivering against the expectations that were set, the transformation goals that were defined, and doing it in a hugely professional and managed way. I think for me, it is really the agenda for the next 3 to 5 years. And I want to see those institutions that backed us be the ones that actually are going to step forward and lead in this space. I'm really, really, really excited and hopeful for the coming period.
And I'm thoroughly excited for you and our clients. Rajiv?
If I think about three dimensions, the first being clients, we would want to, my focus would be to continue to deliver for our clients and support them in the transformation. And then the second dimension is around the market. If I look at financial services market at Deloitte, we have the opportunity to bring the ecosystem together. And also the third dimension, which is the people aspects. We have a fantastic team at Deloitte and at our clients. And the idea is to bring them on board on this transformation journey together to make a difference. That's how I see my role for the next 5 years.
And me personally, alongside everything you said, Rajiv, I feel like we're always targeting the hardest problem with cloud. But there are also some simple problems in terms of operational automation that get left by the wayside and not prioritized. I'm really keen for our clients to see benefits front to back in terms of genuinely extracting the full value of cloud by not just applying it to the complex problems, but also to the more simple process related issues that they continue to face specifically in financial services. It's been a really engaging and wonderful discussion. Thank you so much for taking the time, Alan and Rajiv. It's been a pleasure having you on the podcast.
Thank you very much. That was a real pleasure to join the podcast this morning. Just in closure, it's always a very big delight to work with Deloitte. They are really a really important partner to us here at Google, and the work we do together in many of these accounts is tightly bonded. So thank you for the invitation this morning.
Thank you, Aarti. As always, a pleasure to have a conversation with you and Alan.
Thank you both again for your time. It was brilliantly insightful and probably one of the best podcasts we've recorded. Thanks, Rajiv. Thanks, Alan. The latest development from major public cloud providers. This week, we have Sundar Ramaswamy, Google Cloud Ambassador. Over to you, Sundar.
Thanks, Arti. Great to be a part of CloudSpeed again and getting to hear meaningful insights from Rajiv and Alan. As the Google Cloud Ambassador for our consulting practice, what I've been observing is that the industry is starting to embrace technology and digital transformation with open arms to stay competitive and relevant. So, what I want to cover off today is three key observations around trends in FSI and how Google technology is primed to solve these problems. In the retail banking space, customers have started expecting a more personalized experience. Things like benefits, reward points, and spending summary forecasts have become very common. And well established retail banks are having to contend with non traditional competition. Then there is the issue of legacy data and non modern infrastructure that banks have always had to deal with. So, retail banks are having to digitize rapidly to stay relevant. And that is where open banking, or more specifically Apigee, which is Google's open banking integration platform, comes into the picture. Apigee is an API management platform and makes design and publishing of APIs very easy. It has inbuilt analytics and threat protection as well. And in today's world, APIs have become a very fundamental part of any application. So using Apigee, banks can redesign their overall customer experience. As an example, if they were to do things like launching a new product or maybe improve the overall banking experience for customers, or even say launch a personalized marketing campaign, they would need APIs for all of this, and Apigee is definitely a powerful solution for addressing this concern. A lot of the global banks are increasingly adopting Apigee for end-to-end integration, so definitely something worth considering. Contact Center AI, as the name suggests, is Google's offering to improve the caller experience. For banks, one of the main issues is that they have these traditional contact center solutions which are expensive and time consuming, both in terms of setup and the run cost. As a workaround, many banks have tried IVR, but frankly, that has not been a very good experience, at least from what I have observed. And that is the last thing you want as a retail bank, especially since most of the critical customer interactions happen in contact centers. CCAI has a bunch of advantages. Other than the obvious ones like human-like interaction, what CCAI does really well is that even if you have human agents, CCAI actually uses natural language processing to identify the intent behind customers' call and provides real-time step-by-step assistance to the human agent. which can help the bank address customer issues better. The third category I wanted to call out is around running risk modeling and simulation. Financial institutions need to frequently track market movement and also need to analyze cloud portfolios to determine risks. It could even be things like forecasting the potential P&L or say taking a trading decision. Now all of this requires high performance compute, and the way that financial institutions have traditionally been doing this is by building a server farm. The problem with this approach, obviously, is that a lot of your capacity will be idle for a good part just because you need high power compute to run the risk calculations, but also that you do not necessarily need it to run 24 by 7. The other problem is that the scope for expansion is pretty limited. With Google Cloud, you get all the services for running these high performance computing risk calculations under a single umbrella. You have services like PubSub for ingesting streaming data, like trading data, for example. You have the fully managed service Dataflow, which is for running ETL. You have cloud storage for storing any volume of structured or unstructured data. And to top it all, you have a variety of compute options for running memory or disk intensive workloads, all of which can auto scale up or down depending on the complexity of the operation. So, all in all, just to summarize, there are a bunch of FSI specific solutions that Google Cloud has to offer, and I frankly have just touched the tip of the iceberg. There are others like quantitative analysis services and regulatory reporting services, all of which can come together to effectively digitize and transform the banking industry. I would definitely recommend all of you to have a quick look at some of the announcements Google has made in the space as part of Next 22 to learn more. As always, thanks for having me over. Back to you, Arti.
Thank you very much, Sundar. That brings us to the end of another interesting episode of Cloud Speed. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, do share it with your colleagues and friends on social media and subscribe to be notified when the new episode arrives. To find out more about Deloitte's cloud capabilities, do check us out on deloitte.co.uk/cloud. You can connect with me on LinkedIn at Arti Balakrishnan. And with that, this is Arti signing off, and you've been listening to Cloud Speed by Deloitte.